ever wonder why everything that we ever see in our world always has some sort of government, some sort of elite figure, or some sort of someone in power trying to cover it up to the point of where I'm called crazy because I have the audacity to question their intentions? Because the people who profit off of our ailments, off of just life not going well, off of the pandemics, off of the world, off of the food shortages, off of every secret building that's burned down, been destroyed, had a plane crash into it, and I'm not allowed to question why. For those of you who have been living under a rock, on February 3rd in a town called Palestine, Ohio, a train derailed mysteriously, releasing vinyl chlorine into the ground. Now, okay, America has plenty of toxic chemical spills. What should we do about it? Well, our bright idea was to have a controlled burn. As a result, a mushroom cloud of toxic chemical smoke released into the air, and town citizens are now reporting that all of their chickens are dying, or their dogs are dying, or that they go outside and they can't see. 70 miles away from the location, people are reporting acid rain melting the metal on their cars. And will our government do anything to talk about or fix the problem when a massive chemical spill is now draining into the Mississippi River, which we all know connects the South to the North? No, they're not. Where are the climate change people? Where are all the green earth activists when a literal chemical spill is now affecting the livelihoods of most likely going to be the entire East Coast and Midwest of America? I have to go to TikTok now to find my news of people throwing rocks into the river and seeing all of this creepy gook boil up as all of these fish are just floating around lifeless and dead.
Watch this. Just see that chemical pop out of the creek. This is disgusting. Wow.
Look at all that.
Look at it.
It's all in the bottom of the creek bed.
There are literally hundreds of dead fish, all coming from the one creek that's coming from the wreckage. That fish in this one is actually probably about a foot long, so it's not just the little ones. And then you see a bunch of little ones scattered around it.
And okay, fine, trains derail all the time. There's about 1,000 that happen every single year. But it is quite interesting that we've had trains derail in Ohio, in Michigan, in South Carolina, in my home state of Texas, that all have toxic and hazardous chemicals in it that are all seeping into the ground. But do you want to know what my prediction is going to be? In about 15 years from now, if the apocalypse hasn't happened by then, we're going to be getting commercials coming on the TV where if you were affected by the Palestine, Ohio train derailment, you are entitled to compensation if you have grown a third eye as a result of the toxic vinyl chloride derailment in Ohio and South Carolina and Texas and Michigan, etc. Blah, blah, blah. That's just my opinion, though. But not to derail the conversation, but like, just so y'all know, there was a movie that came out last year, and it was called White Noise. Here's the plot summary of it, all right? A small town in Ohio has a massive train derailment that all filled with toxic and hazardous chemicals. Basically, everyone's panicking, and there's a mushroom cloud of toxic chemicals, and everyone's just going into mass hysteria, but it's supposed to be a comedy. But here's the kicker. The movie was filmed right outside the real life Palestine, Ohio. The citizens of Palestine, Ohio were extras in said movie.
Coincidence? I think not!
And not that I don't completely trust the government who makes money off of everything going wrong in my life, but here's my conspiracy theory hot take about this. The movie Outbreak, 1995. A monkey spreading disease in small town America, and what does our government decide to do? Bomb them to make sure it doesn't spread any further. Now you're probably saying our government wouldn't do that. They have our best interest in mind. No, they don't. I mean, look at World War II, for instance. We put Japanese Americans in internment camps, and which were honestly, I'm not going to say that they are like the Holocaust, but I mean, like, we did take one out of Hitler's playbook over there, simply out of fear. So to say that our government wouldn't do something, it's a little ignorant, not going to lie. Okay, and our government has specifically said that the water and the air quality in Palestine is completely safe and that people are being encouraged to go back to their homes. Well, I hate to break it to you, Biden administration, but that can't exactly be the case considering all of these animals are dying because they breathe the air and all these fish are dying because they live in the water around the area. But you guys have never been wrong before, right? Wrong. 9/11, you guys said that the air quality for the workers was perfectly fine and they could start. Wrong. Their lungs ended up getting destroyed. The Waco massacre, you guys said that it was filled with terrorists that you had to take out. Wrong. It was filled with women and children. Flint, Michigan, you guys told us that the water was perfectly safe and that we could drink it and we would be fine. Wrong. I don't know about y'all, but it seems like our government has a history of constantly being wrong about everything. Or maybe they're lying. Let's just look a little bit deeper than the surface level of what actually happened. Let's take 9/11 for instance. And let me just preface this with it was actually a disaster that had real life American casualties. But why am I not allowed to question what really happened? So the story that we all know is that 19 Islamic hijackers got on 4 Boeing 757s, somehow managed to overwhelm not only the entire passengers, all the crew, even the pilots with simply just box cutters, somehow managed to hit 2 towers, a field, and the Pentagon, and somehow no red-blooded American testosterone man decided to stop the terrorists when they were obviously yelling, Allah Akbar, charging the cockpit? Why aren't we allowed to talk about that? Okay, at this point, you've probably labeled me a crazy, conservative, redneck hick conspiracy theorist, and that's fine. But all I'm saying is just think about it for a second. The official government report has more holes in it than my parents' laundry basket. For instance, the biggest red flag to me is not a single black box was found at any of the wreckage sites. Not one. And we find them in every plane crash. Now, are they always readable? No, sometimes things happen. But those boxes were designed to tell us what really went on. And even the official 9/11 Commission report doesn't even mention that the World Trade Center 7 collapsed. To add on to that, you want to talk about the fact that a BBC reporter said that the Trade Center had collapsed while literally in the background, it's still perfectly standing.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. It seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent Jane Stanley.
We know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now. And
presumably there were very few people in the Salomon building when it collapsed. I mean, there were, I suppose, fears of possible further collapses around the area.
And apparently it collapsed due to a structural fire, but the building wasn't even hit by a plane. Where did that fire come from? And mysteriously, all the documents inside all were lost with it. Something else that I find just a smidgen bit suspicious is the fact that a supposed terrorist's passport was found blocks away from the World Trade Center, practically completely unscathed. So you're telling me that a paper passport somehow, after it had been in a plane crash, made it outside the plane, through the fire, out the building, through the giant plume of death smoke, floated blocks away, and then mysteriously landed where somebody found it, was able to give it to the proper authorities, and then, just then, news reporters were able to talk about it? Yeah, that's a lot of coincidences for me. Okay, and yes, it's true. Disasters happen all the time, and sometimes there is nothing that good men can do to stop bad men from committing evil around the world. That is true. I will give you that. But why aren't I allowed to question this without being labeled crazy by our government as well as our peers? I mean, it's not the first time that a government in his history has decided to do something as an excuse to go do something else. So if you want to ask me, well, Savannah, why would they want to stage a mass casualty event like 9/11? Well, here's my hot take on it. America's globalist, elitist politicians love a war that makes them money. And I'm sorry, Dad, and I'm sorry to all you military guys out there, but it seems like our government likes to go to places where they can find oil, and in today's society, it seems like we like labeling people as terrorists in the excuse of that we can go over there, cause mass disasters, and then every single other person just has to pay the price of our government's greedy wallets. Why is it so hard to believe that our government elitists would use not only us but our military to push forward whatever money-making agendas that they see fit and then lie about it to our face afterwards? Time and time again, I have seen our government do something, blatantly lie about it, cover it up, or blame someone else completely. Look at Benghazi. Look at the Afghanistan pullout. I mean, if they were trying to make money, they're doing a pretty dang good job on it by pushing this war on terror for decades upon decades upon decades. But they clearly don't care that much because we left Black Hawk helicopters to terrorists. You guys couldn't think that maybe, just maybe, we should blow up all of the assets before they fall into the hands of people who would like nothing better than to do America harm? Okay, fine. We have now established that our own government would like nothing better than to rip us apart from the inside, like a famous president once said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. From my perspective, we have been at war during the entire course of my life. My dad has seen combat since literally my conception. We jumped from the war on terror all the way back over to Ukraine. It seems like our government is just looking to go pick a fight with foreign countries and to go spend all of my tax dollars in places other than our home. You know what the role of government should actually be? Well, look no further than the United States Constitution, Declaration of Independence, or the Bill of Rights to find your answer. But it seems like our government is constantly doing this power play of manipulating us into thinking that it's you versus me, when in reality it's us versus them. Like my dad always says, each presidential administration is just handing off the keys to the jet to the next guy and then waiting for these two parties to rotate every 4 to 6 years. But newsflash, political elites, conservatives, Democrats, libertarians, rhinos, whatever the heck you guys want to identify as, your job is not to be sticking your nose up my butt in my business. Here's your job. Create and enforce just rules in a society. Keep foreign nationals out of our collective space as a whole, and maybe, just maybe, if little Kim wants to go play with his nuclear toys in the sandbox again, deal with that. But other than that, stop trying to meddle in all of our businesses. Stop trying to cause more problems from the inside. And then, if you could, stop trying to cover it up every time you get caught with your pants down with some foreign national handing out green money behind a green curtain underneath the table or in a dark corner. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Fox's News word for it. Don't take CNN's. Don't take Alex Jones. Don't take Candace Owens. Don't take Donald Trump's. Don't take Joe Biden's or Harris's or whoever's. Go look it up yourself, please. Maybe ask these simple questions. Who, what, where, when, why, how. Question everything. And then here's something that we say all the time but needs to be readdressed. Find out who's making money, and then it's usually that person who's guilty. If you guys liked what you saw, or at least found it somewhat entertaining, please like, follow, share, hit the bell on all of the things, link in the comments down below so you never miss another episode of me talking about what I want to because big tech doesn't like it. Also, maybe you guys can comment down below what your favorite conspiracy theory is that may or may not be proven true if you just give it about 6 months. Anyway, I will see you guys next time, and remember, question everything, even me.